Well.
You sorted?
No, I'm gonna leave it.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Do you want to take a break at 5 o'clock? Do you want to? What's the time?
We'll see. It's 5:05.
Okay, let's do it at 5 past 5.
We'll see how we're looking.
Okay. Dun 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 dun. Beer time.
Is that the new theme song?
That is a work in progress. It's not, anyway, I don't think it will actually pass with the board of directors. But ladies and gentlemen, it is #beer time. You are listening to the show all about beer, ladies, and money. Mainly more beer. Less about the money and ladies. But guys, welcome to the show. I would like to get straight into introducing two unbelievable guests. On my left, on your right, if you're watching on TV, he is the co-host of #beer time, and he is returned for a second show within 3 weeks to come drink some beers. It is my privilege and honor to welcome Mr. Muzza Middleton.
Thanks for having me back, Bernie. It's always hard to say no to a good lineup of beers.
It's always difficult to say no to any beers, if it's my case. And then on my right, on your left, watching on the YouTubes, is probably my first beer buddy. There's something interesting to think about, but he has joined us all the way from foggy London town. I would like to welcome back into Cape Town, Mr. Hilton Brown. How are you doing, sir?
Thanks, T-Bone. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's fabulous to have both of you here. Mr. Brown, I know that you've been on, I think maybe a podcast. No, I don't think you've been on a podcast. I think maybe you've been on a TV show or a YouTube channel, or I say TV show, but I think this might be the first time we've had you on this level up.
This format.
This format.
Level. Obviously did okay the first time around.
Did we have you in
The
this?
directors are quite strict, so as T-Bone said,
Very
they've definitely
strict.
given you the all clear. When you sent your resume in, they were happy.
Yeah. Thanks.
Guys, this I could go on talking absolute nonsense all day, but I think we're here to do one thing.
Yes.
And one thing only. As you know, there's always a bit of a theme when it comes to these drinking sessions. I've been very lucky enough to get a few beers from friends and family, and one such person to bring some beers back is Mr. Brown, Master Brown.
The mule.
So thank you so much for bringing some beers back. I've mixed in some beers that I brought back from overseas, and in fact, now that I think about it, we're just going to be drinking one. Well, I mean, you only did bring back one beer for me for the show. Hey, it was just the one beer. Yeah, so we're just going to drink that one beer that you brought back for me. I've got some other beers from my recent trip. I've got a beer that I've been holding on to for 5 years.
Yes, I love to hear that.
And I think I've spoken about it a few times on the show, but it's actually I've never found that opportunity, and I've always wanted I see you having a little sneak peek.
I'm trying to see what it is.
But maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get to it later on in the show. It's one of those beers that we'll have right at the end. The star of the show, which I think we cannot ignore, is a batch 51 from Masters Brown and May Homebrewers.
Yes. Yo!
Batch 51.
Batch 51. I want batch 19.
Why 19?
Because that was your best brew ever, wasn't it?
That was probably...
Or was it 17?
17 was probably the worst beer. It was...
Troy and I have got an ongoing joke where you brought it to an off flavors, a BJCP.
No, it wasn't off flavors. It was just the tasting. When we were learning our BJCP, and there were guys... I wanted guys to see what is wrong with the beer, because maybe there was something that was off.
It was tough. It was tough to put your finger on it. It was an amalgamation of.
There was so much.
It was insane.
And I will get Hilton in the clear.
Okay, great. 51. I remember when you did 50.
He wasn't there. He wasn't there to brew
Just for the record, I was also sick with batch 17.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Let's start with
The age of the quick
a
fix.
beer that's
I like
called
that.
Master Brown bought, and now.
That's Portuguese, isn't it?
So this is a brewery. Now let me just. I think the people can see us, but the people listening will need some explanation. It's called the Age of the Quick Fix. It's a dry hopped sour, and it's a collab brew between Lost and Grounded and Lervich. Now, long-time listeners or maybe recent-time listeners will know that we had a Lervich on last week's show with Greg and Rochelle.
That's right.
And the one thing I've noticed, I'm going to hold this up to the camera. The one thing I've noticed is that the artwork is pretty trippy. So if you want to go have a look at their website, I've still got a tab open with all their artwork. But maybe we can open it. While I'm opening it, it's Master Brown. Why did you bring us this beer?
Well, I was told quite clearly that Mrs. May likes her sours, and knowing I'd be sleeping on your couch, I knew it was good for me.
And she's not getting any of it.
And we are not going to tell her.
Ooh.
We'll wait and see what she says when she watches and listens to the podcast.
But I guess on a more serious note, this idea of a dry hopped sour I've never had. I mean, I've had plenty of sours, but never dry hopped. And I love sours. I love IPAs. So it could be a perfect storm.
Sounds fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Ching ching.
Cheers. Cheers.
So, okay. So I am getting a lot of hoppiness.
Ooh, nice and light bodied.
I am also getting that sourness, which it's almost unwelcome because you're not expecting it with the hoppiness.
But the hoppiness, it does have a nice sweetness to it as well. But
Sweet and sour.
I did get that like in the back of your jaw.
Oh,
It's nice.
straight up, it's sour right in the middle.
But I like that. If you're gonna make a sour, it must be sour.
Yeah.
It mustn't be like teetering on the edge. You must know that this beer is gonna be sour.
Don't beat around the bush. So
Cryo Equinaut. So is that what they've dry hopped it with? I'd love to. I was trying to take that label.
yeah, go for it. It's hops, Brewers Gold, Cryo Euconaut, and Cryo Laurel. Now
I haven't used Laurel, but I've used
there's
quite a bit of Equinaut.
there's some lactic acid bacteria culture that popped in here. This is brewed at Lost and Grounded, which is in Bristol in the UK. So it's obviously that the Lervich guys just hopped on over. I've never heard of these Lost and Grounded. Is that?
Yeah, no, I've actually not come across them in the UK. So I think they're quite new on the scene. I don't know much about them, but
New beers.
hey,
It's delicious. I'm a big fan of it. Do you pick up more of the sourness, or do you pick up that dry hopping? Like, is there a point for them to be dry hopping in it, in your opinion, or do you think they've?
I think what's typical about a sour beer, that first hit is just sour, and then it just draws you
mellows
back in.
out, yeah.
And then actually, as you drink more and more, you're actually getting.
I do get the hoppiness, but it's
More
not.
hops.
It's not like a. I wouldn't imagine it's a hugely huge gram per literage, but I do definitely pick up some of the hops on it. And what's nice about cryo hops is they're so concentrated that you use far less, so you get so much more aroma and the hop characteristic without that like extra grassiness if you do over dry hop, and also your loss in your brew is so much less as well because you have less trub and less hop sediment, which is so nice as a brewer.
is it more cost effective as well?
We don't have the cryo here as readily available, so there's like a little bit less of a competition between the different importers. So there's like pretty much just I think it's just the one person that brings it in, or the one company. So I'm not too sure on. I haven't looked too much into it in terms of using it full time, but a couple of like cool special batches that we've done have had it, and it's cool to work with.
Sweet.
It's insane how much flavor and characteristic it's got just in like a tiny pellet compared to the same amount of a normal hop amount.
Just for the rookies, what exactly is cryo hop?
So, I mean, I think there's a scientific method behind it, but it basically what it is I think there's just more hop.
Condensed almost.
Yeah, but it looks the same, but there's just more. I think it goes through a vacuum process or whatever where it extracts more of the oils.
Okay.
And that's through cryo is icing?
Yeah.
Do you want to just
It's good to know that when you
yeah, I think from what I heard, it's where they're lowering all the temperatures and they're extracting those oils, and it's obviously the freezing of the water versus the oils, and then by separating that water or water particle, you can get a concentrated oil.
Yeah.
At least that's what I think would happen. Do you want to read what Google says?
Are
you happy with
need to? No, I'm not happy with that. But as a Yakima chief, they do a lot of it. I'm sure they'll explain it.
Do you think it's the future? Do you think oaks are
I think it's. I mean, it's. You know when you just get that the hoppiness you want from something. Feel like you get more of it from a cryo hop than a normal hop. Obviously, it's just packed with more. I think
I love that.
So good.
I'm being very critical now when I say this, but I wonder whether it would work in our drinking culture.
I think it would for the people who want to drink it.
Yeah.
A lot of people would buy it for the look of it, and then they'd say, it's sour or whatever.
It says sour here. So.
But then people will still be like, I definitely think that if you bring it on a mass production scale, a continuous scale, it won't work. But if you're doing a limited release, seasonal beer, that will pick up a lot of traction and people will really be excited for it to come out again, I think.
Okay, so
what do I know?
It is a well-made sour, and
yeah, and like I said, I'm a huge fan of a hoppy pale ale IPA, and a huge fan of sour.
Yeah.
This for me is heavenly.
Oh, really?
I love it
because it does have a hoppy note. Definitely does have that bitterness
100%.
balanced with that sourness, which is great.
Like a good sweet and sour pork.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
You're showing us your late night sneaky treats, takeaways in foggy London town.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Do you want to pour it so long?
No, go for it.
Okay. Cryo hop. Well, the cones are frozen with liquid nitrogen, then the lupulin glands are separated from the now nearly completely debittered leaf or low alpha bract. The glands that make up cryo hops are the concentrated bittering and oil-containing portion of the hops. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so there is some icing, some intense. I don't know what the correct, or cryo is obviously the correct.
It says cryo eliminates that high astringent note that you can get from over hopping, or what I'd imagine like a hop burn, where if you add too much hops, you get that like dry, like
even
almost
leafy.
Like it like dries your mouth out too much.
Now we know.
Shit.
Tiny rebel.
What's wrong? Do you not want to have this? So this is, I'm trying to think, I bought this when I was in Germany now. It's a brewery called Tiny Rebel. That is, it's in...
They're Welsh.
Franz...
What's the town with the N?
Newport.
Yeah. They're from Newport.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got a beer mate who's over there now, Mr. Beer Pants. So he sent me some photos. So I thought, let me not feel too alone and not drink without him. But we're going to have this frambozy raspberry sour framboise. Framboise? Oui. And it is...
It's also 2 pence.
Is it also 2 pence?
Yeah.
So you see, we're having this discussion on the last show.
Yeah.
2 pence. What did we work it out? It was...
You got to put a second pair of pants on when you wear these, when you drink these.
Too many of those and you
wear a diaper.
Well, so how does the equation work? If you've had one, is that any pants? So did we drink that correctly? Were we supposed to drink that with pants?
This is 0 pants, so we should have actually been wearing nothing.
Well, now we've hit the mean. Oof. So we've gone from no pants to 2 pants, so 1 pants is fine.
Yeah, we're good.
Sure, that's an aggressive pour, Boney. I like it. Color is
Delicious.
is brilliant. It's like a
Beautiful ruby.
yeah,
Really.
but it could almost be a like a red ale kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's cloudy.
It actually looks like one of those
Ooh.
ciders.
The nose. Oh, that is beautiful.
Sure. So the nose. I mean, I can hold the bottle. I don't know, 10, 15 centimeters away,
I want to see what
and it's coming out very strong.
it says. Only 4.3.
Raspberry.
I thought it was a bit boozy.
So a lot of smell. I'm gonna go in for the sip here.
Are you? What's your what was the term you phrased the other day? You coined
My
the
ambience,
ambience-
nasal range,
the ambient
sniffing range. Yeah.
Well, one way to start to put that into the people's mouths is by putting it onto what's that? Urban Dictionary.
Yes.
Oh really? I don't visit that, but maybe I should.
Yeah.
Yo,
What are your thoughts? There's a lot of and sloping.
a lot of a very dry finish,
Yeah, very dry.
dry on the back of the tongue.
This is
It's almost like when I went to school. You know, there's sometimes those berries. Those you used to throw them at cricket, and they used to stain your clothes. You used to buy them.
num-nums. Num-nums.
No, not num-nums.
Aren't they not called num-nums?
No, these are bigger. It could be. It could be. It's part of the num bush or something. I don't know. But those things that you used to throw, they had that like tart dryness to
And
them.
it'll stain your cricket clothes.
This is very similar to that.
Yeah.
If you ever played cricket and you used to throw berries at your mates, this is what it tastes like.
Okay, because I think our cart horse made a num dry
These are like this big.
vit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that a num?
Yeah, well, I think that's not obviously
Not a tree tomato.
I don't know.
Because Num Num sounds like a non-official name.
Yes, no, it is probably. It is not a scientific name.
I thought that was the name. Jeez, I'm living in the dark ages.
But this beer,
It's delicious.
It's got a great nose. It's probably one of the juiciest, fruitiest noses ever. It doesn't. It's not a failure for me, but it doesn't follow through into the taste.
Agree with you 100%. I
It's
think
just
I think the expectation from the nose is so high, and then maybe the sip doesn't quite deliver on the expectation.
You almost expect
Still
it to be
good.
sugary sweet and like.
Yeah.
But maybe that's actually a
I
nice
quite
thing.
like
about
the
it.
dryness. I mean, I agree with you, but I quite like the dryness of it. I do have that like phlegmy vibe going on now. You know, you have to like.
Some spikes in my reader here.
But I agree. The aroma is definitely here, and the flavor is a little bit lower.
I'm sure a company like Tiny Rebel has perhaps experimented with a sweeter version, and maybe they did make that, and maybe they thought, well, we would drink this, but if they appeal into a larger markets or the mass consumer, maybe it's they made a decision to actually just make it not as overpoweringly sweet.
I wouldn't want that sweet. Eh?
I wouldn't
It's
want it.
almost like a cider. It's
I'm kind of
almost like a dry.
contradicting myself here, but we're working through it.
Yeah,
And
that as a sweet beer will punch you in the dick. Straight 6 love.
you need some ice for
Yeah.
your drink and the day.
Yeah. And that's why it's 2 pants. You wear 2 pairs of pants, you feel it less.
Right, we're in agreement. This is 2 pence.
Definitely
Yeah,
demands.
maybe even 3.
But as a side note, Tiny Rebel are actually one of my favorite UK breweries. These guys, they always deliver. In fact, a couple of years ago, I was at the UK cask. I think it's the Great British Beer Festival.
Oh.
All cask ales, and these guys.
I think you sent some photos.
These guys took a few awards away
Really?
at the cask festival. So they're
That's
pretty
awesome.
talented chaps.
I'd love to taste those, like that kind of beer on cask.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
it'd be fantastic.
they're
With
off.
creamy.
Because that like smoothness of a cask would really maybe like take that dryness away and round it off a little bit nicer.
Yeah. But
That's still a
let's
great
be
beer.
honest, we're sitting in freezing Cape Town right now on a hot summer's
yeah.
day. The whole experience could be different.
Yeah,
Right?
completely. At a 4.3%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say what I've said a few times back when we were chatting to Steve from Shackleton's, who he's obviously quite experimental with this cask beer. But cask beer really is the craft of craft beer. It's like another layer on top of craft, because you got so many other factors that can affect the beer, but it does really. You could take all the craft beers that you know of and put them on cask. It's going to be a completely different beer, and you get different mouthfeel, different things are going to bounce out. So,
We've got Stefan, Steve, and I chatted today. I don't know whether we can. I mean, it's not really a huge secret, but we're going to brew that fake again.
Is this a special one?
For the Woodstock
exclusive.
Winter Festival.
This is an exclusive. For,
Hashtag beertime exclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, your fake was
It
delicious.
was nice. So we're going to brew it again, and it will be ready just in time again on cask for the Woodstock Winter Festival.
What is it exactly?
So, again, I'm speaking like I could just come out really confidently and say this is what it is.
Yeah.
But the style is a very old style. It's called KVEIK, or spelt KVEIK. I don't know how you say it. Fake.
Yeah.
And the yeast is a very high, like it tolerates very high temperatures, and the result of it getting to those high temperatures.
What's a high temperature? 30 degrees.
Like 30, 35.
Okay.
It can go up to 40 degrees.
Jeepers.
And so it actually gives off more fruity.
What's a typical
ale? You can go between like 16 and 22.
And a lager?
A lager you between 8 and 12.
Okay, so
it's
this
a very
is
high,
this is a
yeah. But your audience is incredibly well informed. They've been following.
I have no idea what's going on right now.
Following. So you can ferment this thing super high. We used cryo hops for it, and we dry hopped it on day 0. So once we were pitching the yeast, we put the hops in with it. So the hops it's not whirlpool. It's like as it starts to ferment, and then when we racked it into the cask, then we added more cryo hops. So it was like super milky. It looked like a sherbet beer. It was like the glass had been sandblasted a bit.
Sick.
It was delicious, and I'm sad we had to
nice.
leave because I would have had more.
Yeah.
But just to come full circle,
I did go back afterwards.
oh, did you? Okay, that's why I got all those drunk texts late that night.
Booty calls.
Coming full circle, the beer, the Kvek we had reminded me of Worthington's Cream Ale, which is also a Welsh favourite.
Yeah.
Similar to Brains, I think. Maybe you can correct me.
We go to beer time where the facts that you are told are facts.
Yeah.
Well, it is.
If you say it confidently enough, it's a fact.
Yeah, it's on hashtag beer time. It is a fact. It's definitely the beer that I enjoyed the most when I was in Wales about 10 years ago. Right. We have finished our beer. What I am going to ask Mr. Brown to do is just top these up with water so we can just rinse them.
A rinse off. That means there's a bit of a style change coming here.
Yeah, hey.
You can't go mixing up your sours with the other beers. So as we're talking now, Old Mazza is. Do you want to have a little sip of this? Old Mazza is logging into your flights. You're going on a little bit of a honeymoon.
I'm out of here.
Do the people of Cape Town know that you got a test?
I don't think the people of Cape Town really care.
There are going to be some disappointed ladies
and fellas. And let's not deny it.
Let's talk about Cape Town.
Yeah. We won't give your secret away where you're going. We won't give you any paparazzi.
Yeah. You're going to get left in peace.
So while you're doing that, let's go on to our next two beers. I'm not very clued up with these styles. I'm not clued up with most styles, but these next two beers are smoky beers.
Ooh, Reich beer.
Yes.
And I've got these with my travels to Germany. This first one is a Hopfenhacker Brewing Company in Munich. It's a smoky.
Anders.
Smokies Sten. It's in a bottle. It's got a whole bunch of
what's it called? Reich beer. Is it high
German
ABV?
words. Hoffenhacker is with chocoladig,
There we
cremig,
go.
barig.
Beertime, where you learn other languages
Malzaromatic.
too.
Yeah.
Black is beautiful. That's the only bit of English I can see. Smoky Sten.
Smoked Baltic Porter.
There we go.
7.5%.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Put your hats on, boys.
Okay, so that's a dark smoky. I have this other smoky beer. Let me see what this one is. Probably, okay, so this one looks a bit lighter. This is
IPA. Interesting.
Her Hetelmania Rach IPA. So maybe we move on to this one.
That's
A Cooperation Sut Hertel Helmania. But I'm sorry, for those of you who are fluent in the language of German, please excuse me.
Butchering it.
So it's got your Pilsner und Rauch malts. Simcoe Mosaic Summits Columbus. 6.8%. I think we should start with this one. Gents, what do you say?
Like what I'm hearing.
I like that. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here. So
No, you will.
You crack
You know
on.
what?
I
You
don't know
crack
what I'm
on.
doing.
Do you want us to push pause and we help you?
No, I mean because no.
Do you want us to? We can. Huh?
No. Well, this is important.
No.
No, because I don't know what I honestly don't. It doesn't look like you can. I've never flown Turkish Airlines.
Ah, so the folks at home know that you're going Turkish Airlines. Oh, I might have to give you a little bit more there.
That last bit of that pause
Yes.
sounded great.
I underdid you there. David.
Hey, buddy.
What are your guys' experiences with?
So this,
Smoky beers.
This is the smoky IPA.
This is a smoky IPA.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I get more.
Get a
I
dry
get
face.
but I get more hops than I do smoke on this.
Wait, have a sip. Oh my goodness. A smoke in your mouth is like a cigar.
Like a
good
Vienna
Cuban.
sausage.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, now I'll get some
Yo!
schmuck and a pancake.
That is like
That is a sauce. That is a smoky sausage.
yeah. Is it a Frankfurter? Or a,
It's a German.
yeah.
I don't know what the word is.
Sausage.
That's quite
Intense. Smoky
Yeah.
intense.
It's like you exhaling a good Cuban. Eh?
Yeah.
Just letting it roll around your mouth.
It does give you a really nice. You associate it with warmth and
Yeah.
It's got a nice nose. It's not an IPA nose. It's more of a pale ale
Yeah.
nose.
yeah.
And you don't pick. You pick up subtle hints of
Yeah.
smokiness. So this is
Bizarre how the
almost.
smoke doesn't come through as much.
This is almost a
as the flavor.
reversal of our tiny rebel beer, where
Yeah.
the aroma. This one's the reverse, where the aroma is very subtle and the taste is just.
Don't you think it's bizarre how a beer with such a strong smoky flavor doesn't come through almost at all in the nose? I get
that's
it.
true.
I get it. But maybe when it warms up, it'll come through a lot more because it is
How do
nice
they
and
actually
cold.
achieve
but-
that though?
Well,
Is it all in the smoke malt? And
Yeah,
I mean,
it
you
must
don't-
be.
you
I
don't-
would imagine
powered
so.
by the
Yeah.
hops?
I mean, it's a malt forward beer because of the Rach malt, but you don't really, from my experience. I mean, malty beers. Someone's going to probably tune me on social media, but malty beers don't give you that much aroma on the nose. Where it's the hops that
Yeah.
are stronger. Am I right in saying that?
On this specifically, or
I think in general, I think it's your IPAs and your hoppy beers are the ones that bring out a lot of. Maybe I'm just sensitive, but and also maybe my nose is sensitive, but I think the malt sweetness that you get, it is there, but I think when you I think hops have a stronger
of course. Yeah.
ambient sniffing range. No, they have a stronger nasal refractory. That's the one, hey?
I think I think it's. I don't think it's like that in all beers. You're definitely going to get more like roasty notes from a strong stout than you will, I think, hoppiness. But on maybe an amber ale or whatever, you are picking up more hoppiness for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, hoppiness.
Yeah.
Master Brown, would you drink this? Would you make this a regular?
No, it wouldn't be a regular, but I like it.
It's a beautiful
I agree
label.
completely.
I know that's...
It wouldn't be a regular for me, but maybe it's a traditional thing, like I know that is quite a traditional German beer. Maybe not the IPA version of it, but a Reich beer or Reich beer, or however you say it, it's available there all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I found myself in Germany, I would punish a good few of these. Make no mistake.
Yeah, for sure.
With nice Frankfurter.
Some sausage, some mustard.
A little bit of mustard.
Yeah. Okay, I will say that I'm glad I brought it back. It was good to try. But
I'm stoked, Bernie. I'm glad that you are glad.
I'm glad.
Yeah, we're all glad.
I wonder
Makes me glad.
I wonder if Trevor's glad.
I don't
Okay.
I don't really care. Shame, poor Trevi. He's actually quite a nice guy.
Trev Meister.
Shame, he was so happy that I was on our show 2 weeks ago. But he keeps phoning and asking when he can come back. So that's a problem.
I don't think you should let him back.
We'll let him hang for a bit.
Yes.
Let's move on to our next beer. This is a smoky beer that we kind of hinted at earlier. Master Brown, you said this is a smoked Baltic porter, sitting at a measly 7.5%. This is probably stock
A
standard.
measly 7.5.
Measly 7.
What are we wasting our time?
What are we wasting our time with? What is this? Okay, I'm going to pour for Master Brown first.
Yeah, make line share.
Okay, guys, we'll be happy to know.
Checked in.
I'm very close to being checked in.
Honeymoon is happening. The magic.
Yeah.
Right, this has There were a few beers from this Hopfenhacker brewery. It's got some interesting artwork. I think everything's based around a bear. And, I mean, this label didn't grab me at first, but the gentleman at the store said, no, you must try this.
How important is a label to buying a beer?
I think
It's
first...
a very good question.
Yeah.
Because it's a very complex, multi-layered question.
You answer that.
Okay, well, I'm going to answer what I have to say about it. And
yes.
I think in a educated beer market, it's not as important as an uneducated beer market, where you maybe in London, you've got a wide variety of different styles of beer because those beers are being bought because of the styles.
Yeah.
Like a sour, for example. Whereas here, if there's a lot of lagers being drunk and the majority of the people want to drink a lager, a really standout label is going to be better for sales than the people looking for the specific type of style. Like they could buy the first beer we had and then take it home and be like, oh my word, it's sour, and then read the label. Whereas the label would jump out at them and they'd buy it. So I think it's good for here, but maybe an educate, I don't know.
But even still, so I'd consider myself on the educated side. I go into my local bottle store in London, and there are just so many breweries, full stop.
Yeah.
That the shelves are always changing. You'll have your standard, you'll have your standards, Beaver Towns and your Brewdogs, but there's so many new ones coming out, and even it's like a good magpie. You get caught by the shiny label, right?
But I completely agree with that. But maybe something like this that's a little bit darker, there's less to see.
A little gloomy.
This would be quite hard to pick up off the shelf.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's interesting what you say with you introduced that segment of educated versus non-educated. I think you kind of hinted at something which made my ears perk up, which is the
magpie effect.
The magpie effect.
I like that.
Yeah, I like the magpie.
Hey, you heard it first.
Hashtag
coming up with some different.
Yes, I haven't come up with anything yet.
No, you'll get there. You'll get there.
Yeah. Keep at it, big boy.
But what I wanted to talk with in terms of the label, I think it's I wonder if what percentage of craft brewers actually give a damn about their label. Or maybe they're so sure about themselves. And I'm leading to a brewery which you introduced me to, Marcel Brown, which was the Kennel Brewery. The Colonel, my apologies. The Colonel, it's a brown label. It's pretty stock standard. The only thing that they change is obviously the beer that they're making, an IPA or a dark beer, and then the hops that they've used.
Yeah.
So it's when it's placed on the shelf, I'm sure it stands out against other brewers, but when it's placed on a shelf with just their beers, it becomes very.
But I think that in itself
mixed up.
So
I think I'm going to lean towards them actually knowing and sticking to their guns.
But then that is easier to do in an educated market, or if you've been around for long enough that people like the Colonel produces consistently good beer. And then they're like, we don't need to, and maybe they've been around for long enough that people are like, yes, the beer is good. So if you see this Pooh Brown label, the beer in it is good. But I think before that, if they came out now, it would be a lot harder to get that momentum and that traction and that like know that the Colonel produces good beer.
Agreed.
Explained,
educated. I'm still waiting for your.
I try.
It's got to be a 3-word
magpie effect.
Or it's
ambient
the
sniffing range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or what was my other one now that I just came up with? Nasal refractory system.
Quotient.
Let's quotient. I don't even know. Let's go with it.
So we haven't talked about this beer.
Let's talk about this beer.
Yes.
But what I do want to say about labels, and what
let's talk about this beer.
Someone told me is that in an uneducated market, your label or your tap handle is going to sell your first beer.
Yeah.
The quality of your beer is going to sell your second.
What did Garrett Oliver say?
I wasn't here.
He said a specific. I think he said that's a 4 beer. He said if there's any beer that he can have 4 pints of, he says he qualifies that as a worthy beer. I think it was 4, but it wasn't like 1 or 2 because it doesn't become too hectic. But then if there is a slight something that's niggling you, it becomes more and more present and it grows and grows and grows. But if you enjoy it, it just stays enjoyable.
It's got me wondering why 4, but he's obviously drunk a lot of beers to know that that's maybe his.
I think it was 4. Again, I stand to be corrected.
Primus Maximus drinking Optimus.
Yes. I almost had one just now, but I don't
want to. Let it be natural. It must come naturally.
I don't want it to be a letdown. You know?
Let's talk about this beer. I'm enjoying this beer. I took a long time. I was sniffing it.
I find it far less smoky and far more approachable than the last one.
I would have 3 of these, not 4. I would have 3 of these.
I like it. I get a bit of carpet on the nose, I'm going to be honest.
Just quite carpety.
Maybe a bit of rubber sole. But that's not a bad thing. It's just, it is what it is.
It's got a bit of a milky stout vibe. Creaminess.
I could definitely drink it. I mean, hey, who doesn't like a good carpet?
Listen, by the end of the month, it just gives you the nutrients you need, hey?
Exactly.
What carpet are we talking
Guys,
about?
just
carpet on salty cracks.
Please, just your feet are on my carpet right now. Just go out till the end of the month.
I find it far less smoky.
Yeah, I think that the dark malt has hidden the smoke quite a bit, but this is, in terms of the smoky beers, this is my vote's going to this one.
But really, I would have smashed the other one.
Really, the hectic smoky one. Okay, well it's fine to have.
I actually found myself in Germany when I was drinking that with a. I know we've said it before, but with a good Frankfurter.
Where were you?
I was
Is the Frankfurter
sitting
like
next to the Rhine.
The person from Frankfurt or the actual sausage?
Both.
The Frankfurter.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what a person from Frankfurt is?
Well, you're not a Frankfurtan.
Frankfurtian.
Frankfurtian. No, you're a Frankfurter.
Frank Frauser.
Yeah. You're a Frankfurter.
As long as you know which one's in your mouth.
Okay. We could edit that out.
So
this is the clapperboard and go.
Yeah.
I thought
4 beers down and last
thought-
in May gone.
I thought we were there. I really thought we were there. You guys didn't back me. Oh, okay, that's me for the show.
Yeah.
So you found yourself in Frankfurter.
With a Frankfurter.
With the Frankfurter.
Good Frankfurter.
But what do you mean you found yourself with this beer or the style?
Yeah, well, the style is a little bit funny, right? Rock with an IPA, like
Yeah.
it doesn't really. I don't know if they gel, but
Yeah.
like I don't know. It just felt like it had a little bit more to it.
But it's nice. I like that's the whole thing about if it hasn't been done, who knows not to try it again or whether to try it again or whether it's the next big style.
Yeah.
I mean, people are doing crazy stuff. The worst thing you can do is if you've come up with it, be like, no, I'm not going to try it.
Exactly. Yeah. And this for me was just, I don't know, a little bit tame. But beer is so contextual. It's just like this beer is impacted by the beer we had before it, which was impacted by the previous one.
And what you eat it with. And
Yeah, exactly.
What you're eating with it.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we can move on to our next 2 beers. Our final 2 beers of the show.
Ooh.
And these are very special beers.
Both of them.
Hey-ho.
Both of them are extremely close to my heart. One's very close to my heart. The other one has just been sitting in the back of my fridge for God knows how long.
I remember you talking about one of them.
This is an unlabeled batch 51 that I think we made when you returned from London after being away for a long time. And I'm trying to think.
A couple of years.
We're talking 2015 maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is a Russian Imperial Stout that I have no idea what it tastes like.
Oh,
It could be a batch 17. It could be a batch 17.
And it's aged.
It's a
It
thing.
could
that's
be a
the
batch
thing of it.
17.
You can see it.
How's the quality of that cap?
Yeah.
It's
Rust.
silver, but it's rusted.
As Trevi would say, it's rusty AF.
He's always trying to be
He's
young.
always trying to be hip.
Can't stand him.
Such a-
Can't. Okay, let's just.
Just listen. Ooh, I like it.
That's nice.
That's a good sign.
It's a good
There's
sign.
a little tsk there. I'm gonna have a little
Little
sniff
ox.
before we pour it.
Yeah, just make sure it's not corked.
Can I get some rinse here, please? I just.
Do you want to rinse?
Yeah, I don't
Do you
want to
wanna-
smoke in my.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I want to get the real experience. Thank you.
Naked. Okay, guys,
It's like a good smoky water.
I'm very excited. Let's just see. I want you to explain what you see when I pour it.
Ooh. You're trying to get the syrupy look.
I'm trying to get
It's
this.
looking very syrupy.
Very syrupy right now.
Ooh, nice. Very tan brown head.
Yep.
Guys, this could
Ooh,
be
I can smell it
great.
from here.
This
Can
could be
smell it.
delicious.
Wow. I can smell it from. Whoa.
Okay, so it's almost completely black. I would say
Yeah.
You get the.
it's got a tan
Imperial
head.
You get the medicine on the nose.
Definitely get the Imperial Stout.
Not the bad medicine. The good.
Very good stuff. Hey, try.
Definitely get the Imperial Stout notes.
It's a bit of a licorice vibe.
Yeah, there is.
Hey?
It's like that. It's like the black twirly licorice drink that you can whip people with.
Yes.
That one.
Love that. Yeah.
Get hit with one of those over here. Ooh, it's
Yeah.
This is not lekker.
No, it's not lekker, but it's
Yeah.
fun to do.
So this is another beer where the ambient sniffing range is
Yeah.
Quite high.
quite high. I've got a bit of altitude here with my snozzer.
The nasal refractories.
Okay, I'm gonna go for a sip. So far the nose is good.
Can I please get an official ABV on this beer?
The official, unofficial.
The officially unofficial.
I am not thacking my thumb. I am not sucking my thumb when I pull this number out, but I know that it's somewhere around 11.4.
Somewhere around
That sounds so
11.423.
precise.
Yeah.
That's the one. I've you know, when you make beers, you remember a few things. You don't make a lot of barrel aged Russian Imperial Stouts.
Yeah.
So when you go for a recipe or you go for specific targets, Look, it could be between 11 and 12.
How is it barrel aged?
We had a barrel.
We
had a barrel that we got from a local spot out in Paarl. And it was F.A. Smith.
Small one or a big one, like a...
It was a 30-litre one. We still got it. It's dried out a bit, so we want to restore it a little bit.
You must smoke it, you must re-char it.
Oh, really? I'm actually going to take it back to them just to see if they can help me out.
Yeah. They'll waterproof it, test it.
We need to waterproof it.
Or leak test it.
And we put it in there. Oof. And I think why we kept it in there for 4 months, which was actually a little bit too long. So when we took it out and bottled it and had it, it was just
this
heavy wood notes.
This is maple syrupy.
It's on the
sweet side. It's got the sweets like honey. It's got like a honey syrupy vibe.
Molasses.
Yeah, molasses. But it's a very welcome. You just know this too. This is a 3-pant.
Yeah,
you know this isn't gonna punch you. It's gonna kick you in the dick. This beer.
Yeah,
but it's very enjoyable.
I'm happy. I'm very happy, and you know what? I'm very happy. We're cracking it open because I think it's a
celebration.
It's a celebration.
It's got friendship.
It's got a really nice.
When we drink.
Well done, Batman.
I think that's the one thing that we struggling to. I think any homebrewer struggles to do when they make a beer, like to plan to age a beer and to keep it aside for anything more than a year. It's one, you might not have the space or a partner who agrees with you storing beer in the back of a kitchen. But also, it's hard not to drink it. When you make the beer, I mean, waiting that 1 month for it to go through fermentation, primary and secondary, and then to bottle it and wait another 2 weeks, to wait that long to drink a beer, it's painful.
It's practically impossible.
So you almost have to treat these kind of beers like an investment and just make it.
Was the investment worth it?
I'm super happy.
Yeah, I think it's great.
What did you give it at BJCP? Out of 50?
Jeez.
62.
I've done that before.
You've done that before. You gave a 62 out of 50 for a...
Well, I pushed one wrong button in my calculator because, when you're judging, you want to make sure that you're right. And the bloke doesn't get his results back and he says, oh, this idiot didn't add them up correctly. And then they send you an email and tell you that you're an idiot. So I added into my calculator and I obviously pressed plus twice. And I got a 62, and Troy happened to see that. And he's never lived it down.
Yes! Can't believe you scored a 62. Unbelievable.
It was great though. What did it have to get for the plus button for it to be a 62 if the plus button was pushed twice? It was probably a 22.
Yeah, exactly. Or a 31. I'm just saying.
If it was times 2, I can't remember, but I remember exactly where it was. We judged. I think it was 21 beers that day.
Oh, wow. Were you spitting?
Was it
Swallow?
No, it was
Swallow.
I think it was the National Beer Trophy, which is coming up now, and I think it was...
No, I think it was the Summerfest, wasn't it? Southeasters.
The good news is that we're getting a lot more beer judges on the scene.
We need that.
So there's going to be no more
it's very tough to
double
judge.
shifts.
But that's another point. That's a really important point. Is every time some people believe in BJCP and some people hate it. That doesn't matter. The fact is that if you are entering your beer for a BJCP competition, you want your feedback and you want your feedback to be accurate. And in the early days of BJCP in South Africa or Cape Town, it was very hard because there's palate fatigue and there's all the processes and you eventually get pissed and then you're writing, you stop picking up specific things and whatever.
Stop making jokes on your paper.
And then it becomes a lot easier to be able to give a really clear, clean-cut, accurate, valid judging session when your flight is maybe 4 to 6 beers.
Yeah.
And they're grouped in the right order and everything's done properly. So it's come a long way. And it's good and it's important.
Yeah, I think...
And whether you believe in it or not, the people who are entering those competitions want legit feedback.
I think the maximum that they say you can do in a flight is 13. according to the officials. But 13
in a flight.
Yeah, it's intense. And I must admit, I've been on both ends where I've organized a competition and been in a competition where I've had to do 13, sometimes 15. But it's just ridiculous. But yeah, I agree with you. I think 8 beers is a good number to push to. Because you're looking at an hour and a half.
I've got an attention span, a very short attention span. So, huh?
Water, please. Let's rinse out for one last time because I am feeling it. I don't know about you guys.
Yep.
Well,
thank goodness you're not flying tonight.
That 3-pant. No, I quite enjoy a few beers and a whiskey or two on the plane because otherwise I don't sleep at all.
Do you know that there's a new bar at Cape Town International that has a few taps, namely Jack Black Lager, Lagunitas. In the new,
so it's the Heineken.
It's the Heineken.
Well, I'd have
Heineken tap. So I'm sure you can have a little treat there.
So Master May, tell us about the next beer you have planned.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can it possibly be better than the last?
Yeah.
You know what? If it's not better than this last homebrew, then it's actually quite a tap on the back for me. But I'm hoping that it's unbelievably good.
Because this has been saved for 5 of the finest
Let me not
years.
build it up too much. I bought this in Spain, in Barcelona. And I think I bought it next to... At the time when I visited, there were 7 places around the world that had a 100% rating on ratebeer.com. I think...
Oh, you told me about this place. There's like 9 million beers in it.
I think they had 60 beers on tap. And it was all... It was all computer screens rotating and stuff like that and updating.
They tried to keep every beer... What? They had like a ridiculous... They had like 1,500 beers in bottle or something, didn't they?
Maybe not that much, but... No, maybe not that much. But
1,400.
1,400. Just throw numbers up.
Beer Time, the place where the facts are facts.
Facts. Numbers don't mean a thing, but facts are facts.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I walked into this place in Barcelona. The beers were incredible. The food was delicious. They had right next door a shop where you could get off consumption. So you could buy bottles and take them home. This, if my memory serves me correct, this is where I collected this. And in actual fact, if people who read On Tap magazine, South Africa's craft beer magazine, might have seen this beer in a review on Spanish beers. I'm not too sure what the article was called, but I think it was Barcelona or Spanish beers. And this is the black, I think it says Black Block.
You've had 5 years to be able to decipher that.
It's been in the back of the fridge. Black
Has it
Block,
been in the fridge the whole time?
Imperial Stout. It is brewed by Cerveza Artisanal La Pirata. So pirate, but it's got a skull, so it's a pirate brewing company. It looks like it. Black Block Imperial Stout. It sits at a measly 11.2% volume. This is why I kept it. It says here, lots e consum preference 19th of the 3rd, 2019.
Spanish is amazing.
It's amazing.
You.
It's incredible.
See.
He's translating that from English into Spanish.
Muchos gracias.
Yeah. Amigo.
It looks to be expired.
So, yeah. Guang, guang, guang.
Well, it says drink by the 19th of March.
So, you must imagine that if I had this in my fridge for 5 years, I bought it.
Imagine it's off. Imagine on that day.
I had it 5 years ago. Yeah, I had it 5 years. I bought it 5 years ago. It says preferential drinking date is in 2019. So I had to keep it.
So on the 19th, it would have probably been better than it was.
Should we not open?
No, let's have a cup of tea rather. Call it a day.
Ooh, didn't sound as good as the...
No, it didn't. Batch 51.
Batch 51.
But we'll drink it anyway.
We'll drink it anyway.
Have to test it. Ooh.
Same color. It has some carbonation.
So why this beer? Why did you take this beer from there?
Yeah, of
That's what I wanna know.
1,500 beers. why this beer?
1,400.
Okay.
1,400. Why?
Sure. Right now, my memory is hazy as it is. So for me to try and remember why I took this beer.
What's it called?
See the label
Black
artwork.
Block. Are you sure it's not a C?
That'll put hairs on your chest. Eh?
It's got a similar smell to my previous beer. It's got a bit of a Russian Imperial nose, maybe not as much licorice, maybe a bit more
Very, very
chocolatey.
smooth.
Let me go for a little sip there.
Very smooth. Probably would have been better on the 19th of March, though.
Definitely. Yeah.
Wow.
20th of March, undrinkable.
Yeah.
Undrinkable.
It's just gone rapidly downhill.
No.
T-Bone, it's very nice.
It's got more roasty barley notes. It's got more of that chocolate.
Less sweetness. Still got sweetness. Definitely got sweetness, but less sweetness.
What do you guys think about these high ABVs? I mean, I've heard it said this is diabetes in a bottle. Why would you drink this?
from a health point of view.
Okay. It's a very good question. I think my problem is I drink beer like I normally drink it at the standard rate no matter what I'm drinking.
Rapid.
So when I get onto wine, the same thing happens that when I drink a high alcohol beer. So you need to be aware that it's like a savoring process and enjoy it, and
yeah,
it's not a standard like rhythm of drinking.
Yeah. I like what you said there, because I think what's so great about beer is that you do have such a broader range in terms of alcohol contents.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the general public don't really know that or understand that. Still, on this past weekend, we went for dinner, and some guy said to me, "Yo, but why does craft beer give you such a headache?" Yeah. And I said to him, it's probably because of the tequilas that you had afterwards. Yeah. But my wife, bless her soul, actually came up with a really good explanation. A lot of the craft beers we have, or sometimes, I'm saying in very general terms, a lot of the craft beers we have, the alcohol content tends to be a little bit higher than your mainstream lagers, than your, let's call it 5%.
Unless it's a Zamalek.
It's very hard to find a 5% craft beer. We're looking at 5, 6, and just that small percentage makes a massive difference when you are drinking a craft beer at the same rate that you're drinking a mainstream lager.
Your body can only process so many alcohol
maybe
units.
That is a good point. What do you have a term for that? A rate per consumption?
I don't.
Is there Spanish? Is this
consumption?
Yeah, rate per consumption.
Yeah, no, that's not it. I can't remember it right now, but it's along those lines.
Listen, you got some big good dictionaries to fill here.
So my 2 cents. I play rugby every Wednesday night, touch rugby, and we, for the main purpose of going to the pub afterwards.
Perfect.
And
which pub?
The White Horse.
Sloaney Pony.
On the
White Horse in
Green.
Fulham. That's near Fulham, hey?
Yeah.
The Sloaney Pony.
And it's got a biggest craft beer selection of different beers. And
it's got an incredible, it's 20 beers on tap.
I would also start playing a little bit.
Garrett Oliver, in fact, the fact I cling on to is in the 80s when craft beer wasn't a thing, Garrett Oliver was going to the Sloaney Pony to drink beer. That was his pub of choice. So I'm in an extremely fortunate position to be able to go there at least once a week, and I do not miss a Wednesday. The missus knows that's sacred. But I find myself preferring 2 or 3 4% to 6%.
Yeah.
Really, if you do the maths,
yeah.
Kind of, I can just drink more beer, and you feel good about it.
I agree with that. I do. I mean, because we don't come from a culture of high ABV beers, so it is more, more accessible to have, as you say, 3, 4, 5%ers than a 1.5, 12%er.
Yeah. But now, what I've struggled to understand, and Maz, maybe you can explain this, is why breweries surely are incentivized to brew lower ABV because there's less tax to pay on it,
less
right?
excise tax on it. But sometimes it's nice to, I mean, maybe sometimes the benefit isn't necessarily the profit in it. It's the marketability of it, or I mean, these super big beers, they're talking points. And if you go to maybe this also relates back to the educational side of things, but I know if I'm taking a 9% to a beer festival, a lot of people on the uneducated side of beer say, that's a 9%, I want one of those. Don't taste it, nothing. They're just like straight out, that's a high percent beer, check. And then they go around and they say to their mates, like, this is 9%. And that's like, it's obviously not the right way to be able to like market the beer. But I mean, if I'm making a high ABV beer, I'm not making a lot of it either. I'm doing 200 litre batches. So,
but like this beer, for example, dry hopped sour, 6.2%. Why can't it just be 4.2%?
I think you're probably going to get a better. I mean, the reason they did that is because they're trying to balance like the whole thing. The whole reason you like it is because it's balanced. If it's overpowered on one specific thing, maybe there's too much sweetness in it, and they'd done their calculations to know how much lactic acid or culture to put in and when to stop it at that lactic acid point to be able to know that it's going to be balanced. They could have done it at 4, but it wouldn't have been as sour then.
Okay.
Or if it was as sour, it wouldn't have been as balanced. So they would have just said, maybe up front, maybe they made the decision and said, let's make it a 6%er, and then they sort of worked back from there. But you can also do it the other way and say, let's they would have done it. Let's say make it a 6%er and then gone back from there. Yeah. But I don't know. It's really a balance point of view. You want your sweetness to balance with your hoppiness and different styles. I mean, sometimes if they are entering into a BJCP category, then sometimes it does need to be a specific alcohol percentage, and like you can't enter a Russian Imperial Stout in like a stout range.
Sure.
So there's a number of different reasons. You wouldn't score very well. No. So I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying. They could have done that at a 4%er, but it would have just been a different beer.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah.
How are we feeling with this beer? I'm feeling great. Poured myself a little bit more.
You look great.
I'm you know what, guys? I'm glad I kept it. And you know what?
Fantastic.
Don't tell Trevor this. But there are no other two guys that I would rather share this beer with.
Hey, buddy. That's what true mates say.
I love
it.
And especially to have it batch 51 back to back with this.
Who do you have a first beer buddy? The guy who said, "Go on, drink this."
Yeah.
Because you know what? The funny story, Hilton and I, before we became really good mates.
I wanted to ask that actually.
We were in Aspen together. I remember going to Hilton one day. He was at the ski lodge, and I knew that there was some guy there from Stellenbosch who could maybe give me a discount on some snow boots. So being the frugal idiot that I was like, "Hey man, I'm friends with these guys. Give me some boots."
If you say how's it?
Lekker,
man.
Lekker. So he gave me a discount on the snowboard. But I remember we went for some beers, and he said to me, "There's this place in Aspen Town, this bar that serves red ale. You should really go try it." And I just thought, so I took his advice and I went in there. This, bearing in mind, this is 2009, 2008. And I went in and I looked at this beer and I just thought,
bloody red, man.
My reaction was, you can't be serious. And so I just ordered a Pabst Blue Ribbon, the cheapest lager, because
Pabst Smear.
No, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
That was the place.
Sorry. Next
it was $1. It was cheap, and it's just what I needed. And I find that so entertaining that years later we sit in here now talking about all these different
no.
aspects of beer, and I was back then.
Oh,
I was just I had absolutely no clue, but also I had no interest in what was going on in the States back then.
Yeah. No.
So that's my question. Hilton, did you get into beer through being in Aspen or when you were back home or in London?
Aspen. So I remember going into the B store and seeing Dogfish Head. I clearly remember seeing it, and it was $12 a 6-pack, and I was like, who would spend $12 on a 6-pack? But Fat Tire from New Belgium was maybe like $8. So I was like, okay,
Give
I
it a
can
go.
do that.
Yeah.
And Fat Tire was my go-to beer for the season. And
Oh, what a beer!
and
Yeah.
after the ski season, moving back to Cape Town, there was nothing. There was just a dearth of breweries. There was Boston, and there was who else?
Jack Black, maybe.
Jack Black.
No, Jack Black. Yeah, maybe
Jack Black
just
just started.
but like a lager. So Master May and myself got together, and my missus gave me a brewing starters
Home brew
brewing kit.
kit.
Yeah,
A syrup
and
one.
it sat in
Extract.
the corner collecting dust for like 6 months. Eventually, Master May came in and was like, "My dad was SAB, big shots.
He
I could do this."
he knows what's going on.
And we brewed our very first batch in this house.
It took us 10 hours.
Drank it here.
It took us 10 hours to make that
That's
batch
true.
because we didn't know what we were doing. We were
I
going
don't
back
believe
and
that.
forth to the shopping centre to buy handy
Ice.
liquid
Yeah.
stuff. It was meant to be a 4-hour session. It took us 10 hours.
We chilled it in my bath with like
Yeah.
ice, and then I remember cracking the beers in this house with my 1-year-old daughter.
Because
holding onto them.
Yes, you used to live here. That's how I got into this house.
Oh, that's...
So we cracked it. You can't see it now, but we cracked it in that corner.
Yeah.
And when we opened a bottle just like this, it made a tsk noise.
It was,
And that is my light bulb moment for beer.
it's a phenomenal beer actually. For a canned beer, it was good.
It was delicious.
Yeah.
And
That's nice.
we
That's
couldn't
brilliant.
we couldn't believe we had made this beer.
Yeah.
And I'm not embarrassed to say this, but I think the whole thing that lured me in was the fact that this beer was going to cost us R2.50 to make. A beer like this, R2.50.
But when I worked
I'm
at
going
Beer-
back to my days.
when
Yeah,
I
cheap
worked at
beer.
Beer Guevara, everyone was like, I'm going to make my own beer and it's going to be so much cheaper. And then you get sucked into the making process and like the everything that like about the beer making process, and then you're like, temperature control is just going to make it that much better.
Yeah.
1,000 rand here. And you're like, so you're like, but the ingredients are still cheaper. But like everything you've put in, you're just like, beer.
And it just doesn't stop because that's still where we are today.
Hey, I need a wee, Master May.
I think we are at a good place to say goodbye. And I think you need to log in to your flights. I think we've got some dinner plans. And I think the people at home are, if they haven't been drinking, then they are certainly thirsty and
All board.
Sick and tired.
no, I think they either want a sour, a smoky beer, or a Russian Imperial Stouts. We had quite a nice little array.
I loved it.
Very good mix. Probably the biggest variety I've had on #beertime. From dry hopped sours to big 5-year-old stored Russian
Black
Imperial
Block.
Stouts.
Black Block, 11.2, casual. Mazza,
Chilled.
thank you. Enjoy your travels.
Thank you.
It's going to be
Very much.
difficult to run a show without you because I know how much you bring to the show. But
I think you've had the wool pulled over your eyes on that one.
do you know what's going to happen now? Old Trevor's going to call me and see if he can replace you. But don't worry.
Okay, I'm not.
I know.
He's quite.
It's a hard no. It's a hard no.
He's quite annoying.
He is quite annoying. Master Brown, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
It's been a privilege.
And I keep saying this every time we chat, but I really want to do a show from London.
Yes.
And I think
From the White Horse.
From the White Horse.
The wing backs next to the fireplace.
It would be quite noisy though.
You know what? I think the people want that.
Yeah.
More importantly,
spot.
the host wants this. So guys, thank you very much. I think this is a great place to say goodbye, and thank you very much again.
Thank you.
Guys, safe travels leaving Cape Town, and to everyone watching and listening, thank you very much for listening to us ramble on drinking beer. I hope you learned something. I think you did. We always learn something. Even I learned something. If you want to know about those technical terms, we will put them up on Urban Dictionary.
Show notes.
I think show notes.
Yeah.
Yes. You'll see some of the notes that I send
sniffing range.
that I send you in your
Yeah.
in the blog post. Right, guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you again soon. Ciao, ciao.
Is this not the sign?
That's the sign.
Yeah.
That's the sign. Yeah, I mean, come on, T-Bone.
Hashtag.